we'll talk about the bell work while we wait for everyone else. So in your chat box, let's answer them together. Just like last chapter, points will be taken off of your notes. If these questions aren't done, make sure you have bell work and answers to the questions. Don't just write down the questions. Make sure you're writing down answers. Chemistry. This chapter is about chemistry. What do you think? How do you guys use chemistry at home? What kind of chemicals do you use? Washing clothes, yep, that's chemistry. Cooking, yep. To clean, very good. Cooking is a lot of heat. Heat is a lot of chemistry. Good. Those are all very good answers. Thank you. Shayla, Angelina, Naved, Viviana, Shayla. All right. What does it mean to bond to something? What do you think a synonym for the word bond is? Join is good. Good, Angelina. Connect is good. Good, Jacob. Together. Attached. Naved, Viviana, Shayla. Those are all good. Yep. Link, combine. Good. Desiree, Darius. All right. And the picture at the bottom. What's going on? What is that? Do you guys know? What's that a picture of? An atom. Yes, good. You guys know what the parts are? Or do you remember from any of your last classes? The red, the green, the blue? Yep, Shayla, it's an atom. If you don't remember, we'll talk about it in a minute. That's okay. Electrons are blue, yes. Good. There's protons in there, yep. Do you know what color they are, Viviana? Which one the protons are? Or where they are? Good. All right, so why do you guys think it's important to learn what you or humans in general are made of? Why would that be important? What do you guys think? Why do you need to know what you are made of? Or your bodies are made of? Viviana, good. The protons are inside the atom. The electrons are found outside. For number 4, what do you guys think? Angelina, to understand why we are the way we are. Okay. Good. Anyone else? Why is it important to figure out what you are made of? See how we all started? Yeah, that's a good one. They go back to the chemicals. See what chemicals we all started as. To live longer, yeah. That could be one, to live longer. So we know how our body works. Good. Because if we know what we're made of, we know how much we're supposed to be made of. You can always tell when something is off. To make cures, yep. To make treatments and cures. Very good. Those are all really good answers. All right. So our essential question for this whole chapter is, what are living things made of? So we're starting at the most basic level of what living things are made of with atoms. And we're eventually going to work our way up. Our next chapter is about cells. Eventually we'll get to whole organisms and ecosystems and how they live together. But right now, what living things are made of, we're made of atoms. We're starting small. And our key concept is like our main idea for the section. Matter is anything that has substance and takes up space. And all matter is made of atoms. There's a lot of atoms that you can see. There's a lot of atoms that you can't see. You can't see oxygen atoms in the air, but they still are there. They still take up space, and they're still very, very important to us. A structure of an atom. Make sure you have this drawing. It doesn't have to be exact, but make sure you know the neutrons and the protons are in the middle. And then the electrons float around. And they orbit those two, like the planets orbit the sun. And they each have little charges after them. Protons have a plus after it because protons are positively charged. Neutrons have a 0 because they are neutral. They do not have a charge. And electrons have a little minus because they are negatively charged. Atoms, all matter is made of atoms. At the center, a nucleus is made up of the protons and neutrons, like you just drew. Protons have pluses, neutrons have zeros because they are neutral and they do not have a charge. And then you have the electrons that float around the nucleus, like the planets orbit the sun. Elements. An element is something that is made of only one type of atom. And there are 6 main elements that make up most everything on the planet: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. And to remember that, we make the acronym SHNAPS. That's what's on the top in red. When things are put in easy phrases like that you can hopefully remember, that's called an acronym. So SHNAPS is the acronym for the 6 most common elements on the planet. You are made up of these 6 main elements. The periodic table. This is something you guys should have seen before, just like atoms. Viviana, we are. We are made of the same elements that stars are made of. You are correct. All elements are arranged in the chart called the periodic table. I know in 8th grade you guys learn about the periodic table and all the elements. And they're known by their symbols. Their symbols are an abbreviation of their names, although it's not always their English name. The element iron in Latin is ferrous. So its name on the, or its symbol on the periodic table is Fe because of its Latin name. And gold, silver, sodium, their abbreviations are all dependent on their Latin names, not their English names. No, Shayla, I know you learned it at some point in middle school. I know you learned about the periodic table and elements. Maybe it wasn't in 8th grade, but I know you're supposed to learn it in elementary or in middle school. Good, Desiree. That's good. We barely talked about it in 8th. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about it a lot this week. Shayla, you're going to learn it now. All right, there's a certain way to read the periodic table. It's not just the elements, there's a lot of information in the individual little squares. So if you blow up those little squares, you'll see it. There's a symbol and there's numbers, one on the top and one on the bottom. The top number is called the atomic number, and it tells you how many protons are in the nucleus. So in the green square is an element called arsenic. Its atomic number is 33. So that tells you that there are 33 protons in the nucleus of an arsenic atom. Hydrogen has 1. Its atomic number is 1. It has 1 proton in its nucleus. And these are not trick questions. If I ask you how many protons are in a hydrogen atom, you just look at the top number and you tell me whatever that number is. For hydrogen, it's 1. For lithium, it's 3. That's the blue square. For the yellow square, mercury, it's 80. Mercury is another one of those symbols that are dependent on the Latin name instead of the English name. And then the bottom number is called the atomic mass, or the mass number. It tells you how much the element weighs. Anytime you talk about mass, we're talking about weight. It also tells you how many protons and neutrons are in the nucleus. So we know how many protons there are because of the top number, but to figure out the neutrons, you got to do a little bit of math. Electrons and neutrons. So the number of electrons always equals the number of protons. So in the lithium atom, the blue square, if there's 3 protons, there's 3 electrons. And the number of neutrons, you have to subtract. It's the atomic mass, which is the bottom number, minus the atomic number, which is the top number. So for the lithium atom, you do 6.9 minus 3 equals 3.9. You can round it up to 4. There's 3.9 neutrons in the nucleus of a lithium atom. That's how you figure out how many neutrons there are. Compounds are made up of 2 or more elements. The formula for a compound contains the symbols for the elements and the number of how many elements to make up the compound. So if we take 2 hydrogen atoms and add 1 oxygen atom, individually they're called atoms, you put them together, you get H2O, which is a compound. What's H2O? What do you guys think in the chat? Good. Naved, Shayla, Leslie, Darius, Anthony. Water. Water is a compound. So hydrogen and oxygen separately are atoms. You put them together, it makes water, which is a compound. The most common compound on Earth. And then chemical bonding. Chemical bonds form to make atoms more stable. This is why we talked about what bonding means. To join together, to combine, to attach. This is how the H's and the O's come together. They have to bond. They could do that by either sharing electrons, like on the bottom, it's called a covalent bond, or they can donate electrons. You'll learn more about bonding in your Edpuzzle this week. And we're only going to do one section this week. We're not going to do two, like I said, if you took the survey. We're just going to do the one section. We'll do the next section next week. Desiree, the key concepts in your book, or you can watch it on the video when I post the recording later.